Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Film Pundits. We are here to review The Strain, episode number 10. We're getting very close to the season finale.
Ooh, three more.
3 more left.
Yep.
So, my name is Adam Hlavik, and I'm joined here as always with Mr. Eric Bratlian.
Hi there.
Did you enjoy yourself this Sunday?
Oh, I enjoyed everything about it.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
So, as usual, we're just going to give our general thoughts about the episode. Non-spoilers, and then go into spoiler territory and wrap it up in a nice little bow for you guys at the end.
Yeah.
You can take it, chew it up, it's delicious.
Do all of that.
All of that. So, Eric,
Yeah.
first initial impressions, go.
Yeah, this was a nice, solid episode. I enjoyed that they didn't leave us in the dark with too much. Actually, this was one of the episodes where they kind of gave us the most. They kind of explained stuff that was going on. They didn't give us little glimpses of it and make us wait for like 2 more episodes to find out the rest. We sort of got some answers to our questions. But it was mostly just one question that we got the answer to. And apart from that, it did seem a little fillery, like kind of none of the other stuff mattered a ton. Some other kind of interesting stuff happened. But between the main thing that happened and the other side story with Vasily and the hacker girl, it wasn't a ton of real important stuff, but I still enjoyed the episode because some cool stuff happened.
I liked it because it wasn't strictly a linear episode. Like not all the episodes are linear, but this one dealing with a particular story that it's revolved around, it was cool to see it kind of do different things in the edit to kind of jump back and forth and kind of tell things from different ways and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I thought it was a really cool episode. We finally did get a big question answered, which is something that we've been talking about, or at least been thinking about the last 2 episodes. So it's cool to finally see kind of what happened with certain things. But those are my initial thoughts. So we're going to go into spoiler territory. Yep. So if you want to skip past spoiler territory, go ahead and click on the Strain logo right here on the computer screen.
Click it.
It'll jump right to the end of the video where we just give you guys our final thoughts on this episode. So without further ado, spoilers!
Here we go. So we open on...
He forgot.
What? No, we open on Ephraim's son, whose name I forgot. That was the only thing I forgot. And he's looking around through Abe's store, looking for a laptop, finds a laptop, grabs a Mac real quick, gets on the internet, and uses Find My iPhone to find his mother's iPhone, essentially. And I'm like, okay, interesting.
Which was not Find My iPhone, it was like Google Maps, and he types in like her name, and it pops up. I was like, okay.
Yeah, he like went to this special like URL that just went instantly to her phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that seems like, oh, that's how Jennifer Lawrence got her picture stolen. Apparently you just go to a website and you get into somebody's phone. Like, that's all it takes, apparently. But, it was like, but they're not going to go into the details of hacking.
It was just like,
a password or whatever. And exactly. It's like, let's simplify it.
Yeah.
So, he finds out where the phone is, tells his dad about it, and his dad gets all interested and excited because the phone moved from one block to another. So obviously, okay, there's movement. It's daytime. She's alive. She's got to be alive and not turned because she's moving with her cell phone during the day. Which at first I was like, okay, I kind of buy this. At first when I just saw it moving, I didn't even think about the fact that it was daytime. I was just like, okay, it's moving. That doesn't prove anything. I also thought it could have been underground as well. She could have easily been in a tunnel or a sewer system underneath those streets moving from one to the next because it just moved from dot to dot. We didn't see it move every 2 feet down like a street. So part of me was still like thinking, okay, she could be turned, but she could also still not be turned. And so,
Yeah. For me, it was hard to tell. It was just, you don't really know anything at that point, and you're just like, okay, well, it's kind of open to any sort of scenario.
So, Ephraim goes out, finds where the phone is, and sees it. Some homeless lady had picked it up. So he, just grabs it and says, hey, you stole this iPhone. Where did you find this phone? And she's like, is hesitant to tell him until she finds out, or he admits that he's a doctor.
Yeah.
And then she's got this nasty burn wound on her leg, and he fixes her up, whatever, and then she's like, okay, I'll take you to where I found it. And then she takes him to her car, the wife's car.
Yeah.
Where he sees blood and, not good signs.
So he's already starting to question what kind of state she potentially could be in.
I mean, as soon as he found that iPhone and she wasn't the one holding it, I'm pretty sure he was already on that mindset of this is not good.
Yeah.
And then to find the blood in the car just sitting there, which was her car. Her car was still at the school, wasn't it? wasn't that because that's where she ended up?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where she ended up. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like
because she was going there to pick up the son.
Going to pick up the son, yeah. So he finds the iPhone there, and so it's kind of weird to talk about this part because it jumps back and forth in time. But so Ephraim. I mean, we kind of have to go back and start talking about where she went.
Yeah, it's like a non-linear type of episode. So it'll go to like the present and it jumps back like 32 hours, 20 some hours. Mm-hmm. So we're constantly going back and forth.
Which hopefully if you're watching the spoiler part, you've watched the episode, you know what happened.
Exactly.
So it was interesting how they jump back and forth. So we see the wife and she gets into a fight with Matt, the boyfriend, in the house before anything really happens. He just shows up and attacks her. And she grabs, like, the bottom part of a blender, which I was like, all right, that's a pretty decent weapon. Just slashes his face with it. But unfortunately, one of the worms manages to get out and go straight into her eyeball, which I was like, cool, we get to see that moment that all the posters were showing.
Yeah.
And so I was like, as grossed out as I was by it, I was also kind of
intrigued by it.
And like, ooh, that's fun. And so immediately when that happened, I was like, oh, she's screwed.
Yeah.
I had no hope for her, especially seeing what happened to Jim.
Right.
And they got that worm out in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
She has no hope. She has no idea what's going on. I was like, oh.
I was honestly pretty surprised. I didn't think that she would be someone who would turn in, at least in the first season. I thought maybe it would happen later on.
Yeah.
Because, Matt became infected, so I was like, okay, Matt, we'll be done with him.
Yeah.
And then, we'll have to, at least the wife will hopefully survive with the son, go with Ephraim. There'll be a weird love triangle thing with her and Nora. No.
Yeah.
Nope. Mm-hmm. Nope.
Yeah, a lot of these main characters who we've been introduced to, and we're like, nah, they're going to stick around for a while. It's like, oh, okay.
They did.
Yeah, they took a little page out of the Game of Thrones book, and they're like, we don't care about these characters. They're doing whatever they need to do to make the story good, which I do enjoy. I like that.
I do appreciate that. I'd rather sacrifice characters for the better of the story than the other way around.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. So I was totally okay with that, and I'm not a huge fan of the wife anyway. She's more exciting to me as a zombie, actually, or not a zombie. I keep saying that as a vampire.
You should just review The Walking Dead.
Nah, I don't want to. But so she gets infected, and the first place she goes is
the school to pick up the son.
She goes straight to the school and talks to the principal. I'm assuming, like she seemed like the principal. Says, "Where's my son? Where'd he go?" And then she tells her, "Look, your son was picked up by your friend. I know you carpool sometimes, so I didn't think anything of it." Which, I mean, it must be a small school if the principal knows where every child goes.
Yeah.
Like, unless the kid was sitting there waiting for a while and then called the friend and then she came to pick him up and then that's why she kind of knew because he was there later. Maybe that's the reason. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, so the principal tells her that's what happened, but she sees, like, she looks messed up.
She's got, like, a scratch, bleeding.
Yeah.
She's slowly starting to turn, so her complexion's a little bit more pale.
Yeah.
And she's just obviously having weird physical, like, kind of tics that she's doing, so... The principal questions it, and she goes, okay, I'm going to go make a phone call really quick. And she goes to call somebody, or the police, and she tells them, she may be in an accident, she may have a concussion, all this kind of stuff. And before she knows it, the wife's already out the door. Mm-hmm. And as soon as she goes out the door, she runs into another vampire.
Yep.
And this vampire, they kind of have this, like, stare-off. Mm-hmm. And this vampire's completely turned, can already kind of tell, like, okay, she's a vampire, but she's still kind of, like, in the process. But he doesn't attack her or anything. He actually sees, like, a normal person walking across the street, and that's the first person he goes to, because he can sense that that's a regular person.
Yeah, I'm assuming they have this knowledge of each other to know.
Exactly.
Well, and we see that later. The wife looks at this normal couple and sees the heartbeat.
We have vampire vision.
Which was kind of neat.
It was cool to see that,
yeah. That's how they know who's who and what to go after.
Exactly.
Which is kind of cool. So she's going around the street, sees that vampire, and then watches him actually, like, attack a person and eat them, and seems to get this sick sort of, like, enjoyment and interest out of it, which isn't really that sick considering she's practically a vampire already. Right. But, just seeing that look on her face and how quickly she seems to be turning into one of them. And then so her next stop is she goes to her friend's house.
Looking for her son.
And I'm just like, ooh, goody, I hate this lady. I hope she gets attacked. Sure enough,
oh man,
bam. She comes
attacks
in.
The son first.
She attacks the son first, though, which I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's different.
We're going there now.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing children get vampire sucked to the neck, and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Because at this point, we've only seen a child as a vampire.
Yeah.
And obviously, we do see the child get decapitated, but to actually see the process of them being attacked, that's new to us. So that that took me back a little bit.
Yeah, and of course the mom freaks out, runs after the wife, and the wife turns around, just pushes her on the ground, and goes after her, and
suck that blood.
Yep. So that's sort of where we catch up with Ephraim later. He shows up to her house because she realizes, that's where she went to.
Yeah.
She went here because she was at the school looking for him. He wasn't here. So he goes looking for some sign of his wife.
Yeah.
And goes down into the basement and finds the friend and the child just laying there on the ground, fully turned. And I was kind of expecting him to get a little bit of enjoyment out of that as well, like he did out of killing Matt. But he really did seem to genuinely not want to kill either of them.
Yeah, and I think mostly because he really had no beef with them. I mean, he doesn't really have beef with Matt, but, it's a very different situation. It's like the new boyfriend in the ex-husband's house.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, it's a mother and a child.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what, I don't think anyone in any situation wants to have to kill a mother and a child.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you definitely see this side of Ephraim that, he still has sympathy for people regardless of whether or not they're a vampire. But, yeah, he does have to kill them because they will attack him no matter what, because they are, regardless of anything, they are vampires.
Yeah. And so, after that happens, Ephraim he's out of clues. Yeah. He gives up, he goes back to Abe's place, tells Nora and his son both that he didn't really find anything, which, he didn't find any definitive proof, but he kind of found a good few signs that there's something wrong, especially considering that the friend and the son were both turned. He's got to know that his wife was the one that turned them. Mm-hmm. I mean,
either that, or he can now suspect that, that something came in and attacked them and maybe took the wife or killed the wife or something else. But at this point, he knows that something's going on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but so then Ephraim gives the wife's phone to the son, and he starts looking through it. And the one interesting thing I noticed about the iPhone was they show the screen, and the battery life is at like 90%. And I'm like, this phone has been sitting on a street and then picked up by a homeless lady and then used by Ephraim, and then now it's here. This is the longest lasting iPhone battery I've ever seen. I mean, I thought it was interesting and funny, but it wasn't really important. But then the son just looks through all the pictures and starts watching a video his mom took of him getting a bike for birthday or Christmas. I think it was birthday.
Yeah.
And that's how we ended the episode, which was on that, which, I don't know, it was, I don't necessarily, maybe the significance was showing that she was a loving, caring mother.
Yeah.
But part of me was just like, I don't care about this video. I don't care about it at all. I don't like the fake, compy iPhone video look they tried to do to it, and they're putting stuff on. I'm like, oh, no, I don't like this. It took me out a little bit, and then the fact that it ended on that, I was like, that was a little ending.
I think a lot of that was done also to show the mother was very much like a nurturing mother. She very much cared about her son, and especially with what happens to her at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I think that was the big thing, and to show that she had a really close connection with the son, and Ephraim's son he's not so much. He doesn't really have that relationship with Ephraim and his son. They don't really have that bond that the mom has. So I think that's the real significance, is to show that the son really lost something, lost a big part of his life. Because Ephraim wasn't always around. So I think that's a really significant thing that they try to really emphasize at the end of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then you were talking about, what actually ends up happening to the wife, which she gets called by the Master down to his little hideout. Yeah. And the Master just straight up talks to her and seems like he's kind of recruiting her.
Yeah.
Which is going to be interesting because now instead of having a love triangle, which honestly, let's admit, would be boring.
Yeah, it'd be very
lame.
Stereotypical.
We're now going to have Ephraim fighting his wife, essentially. I'm sure she's going to be on the forefront of, ruling these vampires and is going to be in charge.
Yeah.
Because the Master is smart and he knows what he's doing. He went after the right person, and he's going to give her, probably a lot of her humanity back, like he gave to the German guy, but I don't think he's going to allow her to be a good person. Essentially, I think he's going to brainwash her into being a smart, intelligent vampire, but definitely being evil.
Yeah.
Which I think is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I'm kind of
yeah,
excited.
that's going to be really cool to see that dynamic of how things are going to kind of evolve.
It'll be interesting to see if we see that. That might even be how they end the first season.
Yeah.
Is they go out on maybe Ephraim meeting up with her, and I think that'd be pretty interesting to see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's pretty exciting to see where it's going to go from there. And then the other major storyline that we kind of see is we see Vasily and the hacker girl. They're best of friends. And the hacker girl decides near the beginning of the episode that she's just going to tell the whole group, look, I'm the one responsible for this. I did it. And, I mean, Ephraim and Vasily, they're finding out for the first time. Nora already knew. Abe already knew. And, I mean, neither of them seemed that pissed. Obviously, Vasily seems to have sort of a thing for her, so he didn't really seem to care at all.
Yeah.
But Ephraim didn't... He seemed annoyed and aggravated that another person...
is responsible.
Is somewhat responsible. I mean, obviously, she didn't really know what was going to happen.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the reasons why the characters are kind of passive about it.
Yeah.
They don't expect her to know what's going on.
Exactly. Under normal circumstances, it's like, oh, you brought down the phone and internet? That's annoying. But it's like, just because there's also vampires roaming around, now it's a huge deal. So it's like, you can't be that pissed at her. So then she and Vasily come up with this plan. They're going to sneak back into the Stoneheart, right? Isn't that what? Stoneheart group. And they're going to go in there and try and hack back into the computer system because she knows she has to get back in there to fix it.
Very silly plan.
Yeah, and I'm like, is really Vasily's going to walk in there, flash his credentials, and get right in? And it seems to work. He walks up to that cute receptionist lady, flashes his badge, gives her a nice little smile, says, look, 10 minutes, honey, I'll be right back out.
Which is really funny, because as that's happening, you can tell from the receptionist's face, she's like, I'm not buying this.
No.
There's something else going on.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
But as soon as the hacker girl looks up at the camera, I'm like, you idiot.
Yeah.
That's not going to go well.
Yeah.
So then as soon as they get out of the elevator, of course, all the security guards just grab them, and we're like, yep, okay, that didn't work out too hot. Bring them straight into the security room, and they're like, look, we know exactly who you are. They take all their weapons away from them, and then they bring them to the old dying gentleman.
Eldritch,
to be confronted by him. And he sort of just admits exactly what he's up to. He's like, look.
Yeah. It's all about immortality.
I'm about to become immortal.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing whatever I need to do to survive. Like, I don't care. It's nice to finally say it to someone.
Yeah.
It's like, this is what I'm doing, and I'm excited about it. I'm happy about it. I don't care. Get out of here. You know, I don't care. So the hacker girl punches him in the face.
That doesn't go very well with the security.
No. So he immediately grabs her, and we're like, oh god, that was. I mean, whatever. Do what you want, but you're dead now. You're dead. Like, this guy, he seems like he's all about his job and protecting this guy.
He cares about himself. I mean, he's about to die, and if someone offers you the chance to be immortal, of course you can do anything you can to be immortal, especially if you're on your deathbed, literally.
Yeah, and if you have all that money.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would rather be immortal, too.
Exactly.
So then they're brought down, Vasily and the hacker girl are brought down into, like, the basement by the security guard and all his little security agents. At gunpoint, of course, being pushed ahead, essentially. And then they're told to stop and turn around, and we're like, that's a
moment of truth.
I like Vasily.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the main security guy's like, never mind, I'm a good guy, I don't like what he's doing, and I'm like, oh my god.
Well, I didn't really interpret it as he's a good guy. I more interpret it as, like, he's starting to, I think, get the bigger picture of what's happening, and I don't even think he could kind of see what was going to happen, because I think he only knows so much.
Well, he said, I don't agree with what he's trying to do.
Exactly.
So I think he has an idea of what's going on, and he disagrees because he's a good person. That's what I'm thinking.
And probably he wants to remain as faithful to Eldritch as possible, because he's going to die otherwise.
Well, I don't know. Do you think he really cares about the old man, or cares more about his job?
I think he just cares about not dying, not being killed.
The security guard, you think? Okay.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah, it's hard to tell exactly what's driving his ambition. It could be the fact that he's like, look, I'm sticking with the guy who's going to become immortal and has a best buddy vampire. Yeah. Like, I'm going to stick with that guy. But I also don't agree with it, so you guys go out there and try to stop it before I have to worry about getting killed myself. So that was kind of nice. And so then Vasily and the hacker girl, they go back to...
They get out of there like bats out of hell.
Yeah, they get out of there and they go straight back to Abe's place. And pretty much as soon as they walk in the door, Ephraim's just in a bad mood, which I kind of get, okay, he went out, found out his wife isn't out there, is probably no longer alive. Hacker girl comes back, she almost just died, so she's kind of in this weird mood. But then Ephraim just sort of goes off on her. It's like, look, I don't want you here, you caused this, you're the reason, blah, 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 blah. And Vasily doesn't like this very much, because of course he's got a crush on her, and he's all like, look, you don't speak for all of us, I want her here. But it's not quite enough to convince her not to storm out. So she goes on her way. Vasily follows her, and that's sort of the last we see of them.
Yeah. It slightly ends in a little bit of shambles, but
yeah.
You know, I think we all know that at the end, they're all this team is gonna have to come back together to fight the Master, no matter what happens.
Yeah,
it's sort of inevitable.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's pretty much all the major things that happened in this episode. Was there anything I forgot? Can you think of anything?
I think that pretty much covers all the main points, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the biggest highlight of it is just finding out finally what happened to Ephraim's wife, because that's something I think everyone's kind of been trying to figure out and put the pieces together as to what happened. Because she's been out of the show for 2-3 episodes now, so it's been it's something that's been on my mind as to what happened to her. So finally, we got to see. Even though it wasn't in chronological order, we got to kind of see the story told in different ways as to what happened to her. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
I think the way they did that was about the only way they could have done it right.
Yeah.
Like, we couldn't even tell the whole story of either character at once. We had to jump back and forth just to review it even. So
exactly.
I mean, it makes sense how they did it, and I kind of liked it. You know, it wasn't bad. It was nice to find out what happened, and definitely excited to see what's going to happen with the wife.
Yeah. So to just wrap up and give our final thoughts on this episode, I thought it was really solid. It was really nice to tap some loose ends and see kind of what's happened with certain characters, and to finally see certain characters kind of take steps to try to end what's been happening and kind of put themselves on the forefront, even though their plans maybe weren't the best plans and they didn't really execute them the best way. But you know, there's some characters who are. It's going to be interesting to see their arcs from here on out. And like I was saying in the beginning, we have very limited time left before the season ends. Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this all comes together.
What would you give it out of 10 for this episode?
I would still give it like an 8 out of 10. I still really enjoyed it, and it was a fun episode, and it was cool to see certain things and like see certain parts of the vampires that we haven't seen before. So I thought that was a lot of fun.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. This was a nice solid episode, and it was nice to catch up with some people. And there's, only a handful of other kind of secondary major characters that we haven't seen in a little while that I'd like to catch up with, like the Mexican gentleman. We haven't seen him, and maybe it was just one episode, but I'm kind of interested to see what he's going to do. But yeah,
I think Gus will probably also end up finding his way to this team, maybe.
Yeah, probably. It's bound to happen.
Yeah.
I think they set this up in a way where they'll all end up meeting up eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was nice, solid, and I enjoyed finally, seeing a storyline happen in an episode, and not have to wait for something cool to happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, we got some solid secondary story stuff, and overall it was a good episode, and I'd probably give it just about the same as you, 8 out of 10. Nice solid episode. Definitely excited to see what they do with these last 3 episodes to finish off this first season.
Yeah, and in all honesty, I didn't know it was going to be a 13-episode season until just, I think, yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm excited. It's going to be cool to see how they wrap it up. It's definitely been progressing very well. And, at first I thought it was kind of going too fast, but once I found out it's only 13 episodes, the way the storyline's been going completely makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and, we're going to have to wait another year before the next season.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a bummer. Kind of a bummer, but...
I'm a little disappointed I can't dress up as a vampire with a rubber snake out of my neck for Halloween, because,
we were hoping we're going to be able to do a Halloween review.
Yeah,
but I guess,
it won't be around until Halloween.
No. Oh, well.
But, yeah.
But if you guys want to catch The Strain, it's every Sunday, 10 p.m. on FX. In the meantime, Eric, where can people find you on the interwebs?
People can find me on the Twitters at Thanks for the View with a 4 in the middle.
And you can find me just under Adam Hlavik. And if you guys want to follow The Film Pundits, we're on youtube.com/The Film Pundits, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, all under The Film Pundits. Send us a question. Let's talk about the show. Let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Like the video, share the video, do all that good social media jazz.
All of it.
All of it. So until next time, guys, see you later. And thanks for watching.